Hey there, welcome to Midas Letter RAW. I'm Fraser. With me is Ed. Ed, how are you?
I'm fine, Fraser.
Excellent.
Now what?
I don't know. We're talking about what happened in the market today, and it looked like the original thing that you said to me a little earlier was the
flat as a pancake.
Well, and that
the marijuana stocks are rolled over a bit. By looking at the HMMJ and looking at the big one, weed.
Yeah.
And the S&P is flatter than a pancake. Now down a bit.
We're talking a little bit, right? Just
down 8. Well, it's down 8 points, so it's picking up a bit of steam.
Ooh. Oh yeah. Okay.
I just want to show this one chart here because there's a very famous guy out of New York who made a comment about the markets. So if we can get this one chart up here just to start the day, there's a lot. I'm going to draw this line quickly when this chart comes up.
You need a piece of paper to do it.
Well,
we should get you a ruler. You like the...
Okay, so there, that line. Okay, so you see that? You see that was the peak of the market in October.
Yeah.
Then a drop, and it got back to the line, then really dropped, and now we're back to the line. Okay, so this is the sort of the downward sloping trend, yeah. And we're right there, and we can't, and maybe we'll get through it. But if we don't get through it, it makes people nervous. Okay?
Ooh.
We may need something to calm us down.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Okay.
Okay. Well, what were we just looking at? That was the S&P.
That was the S&P, and you know, of course, it had that unbelievable drop. You know, from here to here, big counter rally, but this rally seems to be stopping right at that previous support. So leave it at that for now. We'll talk about some other things later.
Well, there you go, everyone. That's our S&P update for the day from your Ed Milewski.
The head. Okay. Well, you were walking around Cantech today, weren't you?
I certainly was.
You playing video games, I understand. I
was playing lots of video games. And so we're just going to let you know what's going on in today's show. We've got the news with Ricky Gerwitz, as always. Andrew Grieve from Zenabis Global came in for a chat. We've got Steve Martin from Pond Technologies, which is that algae company that cleans dirtiness. Then we've got Sina Habibi, who's with Cognetivity Neurosciences. They focus on Alzheimer's tests and research. And then we're going to throw to a feature called Best Buds, which is going to be cannabis related. And then to cap it off, we've got Michael Kadonoff, who's with Braingrid Corporation.
I spent a few days with Braingrid with Michael and his father in Dubai about 4 years ago at the Internet of Things conference in Dubai.
How'd you like?
Did I say Dubai?
Do you like Dubai? Was it good?
Dubai is unbelievable. The conference was great. Yeah, it was an experience. It was an experience I had never been to that part of the world, and you know.
But did you shoot aliens in a virtual reality?
No, not then. They didn't have that game then.
I did that, and we interviewed that company. We're gonna put that on a later show, but it was cool, and I got a workout doing it. Like I was dodging bullets and shooting aliens with a team of 3 people, and it was, you know.
You like the game?
Yeah.
Was it fun?
It was totally fun.
You feel like going over there right now? Let's shoot some aliens?
Yeah, I think, you know, we could even have a bud or 2 and then do it. That'd make it even more difficult.
Right. This bud's for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, you know, Cantech going on.
Was it well received?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of, I find, so the weather has been an absolute shite show.
Yeah. But try and get a room in Toronto this week. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, but what I was saying is today would have been a good day to go to Cantech because I feel like 50% people weren't even there.
Right.
So you could have easier access than maybe you normally could. Anyway, it's a good show. There's a lot of very diverse group of companies.
Sure.
We're going to do a bit of a feature on who's there and the most interesting ones we think, and we'll sprinkle them throughout tomorrow's show, and hopefully Thursday or Friday have sort of a recap of the whole conference. So, having said that, here's Ricky Gerwitz with the news.
Thanks, Fraser, and here are the headlines moving markets today. Organigram Holdings Inc. has signed a multi-year extraction contract with Valens GrowWorks Corp. Under the terms of the agreement, Valens will extract cannabis flowers and trim from Organigram's Moncton operation. They'll also use hemp to produce extract concentrate. In turn, the concentrate will be used by Organigram to produce oils and eventually derivative, edible, and vaporizable cannabis products. Heritage Cannabis Holdings Corp has commenced its first cannabis harvest at the Fort Erie location of its subsidiary Cannacure Corp. Due to the success of the first harvest, Cannacure intends on rolling immediately into their second grow, utilizing the same genetics as the original crop. Plants are scheduled to be introduced into the grow room environment within the next few weeks. Flower One Holdings Inc. announced a new licensing agreement and brand partnership for cannabis product fulfillment in Nevada. Huxton is an Arizona-based lifestyle cannabis brand known for their curated multi-strain blended products. Flower One is now licensed to manufacture, distribute, and sell Huxton's signature cannabis products to all cannabis retailers in Nevada. The Green Organic Dutchman Holdings Ltd. announced that the Danish Medicines Agency, the government body responsible for issuing cannabis-related licenses, has granted an initial cannabis business authorization to TGOD's joint venture production partner, Nud Jebsen. This license will allow Nud Jebsen to immediately begin importation of the starting materials and to begin research and development related to the creation of elite cannabis genetics. Emerald Health Therapeutics Inc. announced that its joint venture partner, San Diego-based Emerald Health Bioceuticals, has launched its endo products in whole food markets across the United States. The joint venture, called Emerald Health Naturals, secured Canadian distribution rights for this product line. It was developed to support the body's endocannabinoid system but does not contain cannabis. Canadian retailers have not yet been announced. Harvest One Cannabis Inc. announced that its wholly owned medical subsidiary, Sadi Pharm Ltd., has launched European sales of its recently reformulated CBD capsules now available online. Westleaf Inc. has secured 2 additional cannabis retail stores in Saskatchewan. The stores are secured under exclusive option to purchase agreements with the cannabis retail store permit applicants, and both will be located in Saskatoon. The option to purchase agreements are exercisable by Westleaf once the permits are issued to the applicants and are subject to regulatory approval. Green Growth Brands Inc. has appointed Brian Logan as its new Chief Financial Officer. Logan brings nearly 20 years of global public company experience in corporate finance, international finance, and investor relations. He joins Green Growth Brands from Abercrombie & Fitch Company, a $3.5 billion specialty apparel retailer operating over 850 stores and websites in over 20 countries. And that's your news for today.
Thanks, Ricky, for the news.
Thanks, Ricky.
Yeah, we're just talking about green growth just now.
Yeah, should I put the chart up?
I think we might want to put the chart up.
GGB, and that's on the...
It's on the one of them stock exchanges.
I know which one it is. Hyphen CNX.
That's right. So on a day like today, though, especially where you have Canopy down $5, I mean, well, yeah, there's only a few outliers. So I was just looking at just before we look at this chart. If you look at the cannabis companies that are actually up today, there's not a ton of them. Planet 13's up. This is just...
I think Afria was up a bit, wasn't it? Or
Emerald Health is up. Afria was, but they're down on the day now. I mean, CO2 Grow, they're just sort of involved. OGI's up. Now, they just did that deal with Valens, so, you know, both of those are...
Here's the chart on green growth, and it's interesting, just about the time they talked about doing the deal with Afria.
Yeah.
And it seems like, you know, it sort of ran up, but it's been coming down. Just, you know.
But they're still up from where they were. And to me,
no question. It's been a good one. It's been a...
Don't you think it's like free press? Like they're in the, you know, people are talking about them. They're talking about taking over Afria, and then they're in the news, and then, you know, they're in people's minds, and, you know, maybe that gets them more investment.
You know what? There's no question. If you talk about the same one over and over again, people are going to watch it more, and if they see a sudden move, then maybe they pile on.
Yeah, and they just added another member to the management team.
Yeah, as Ricky pointed out.
Yes, indeed, very astutely pointed out.
Yeah. Our viewers become more and more astute.
Perhaps.
Perhaps not.
Yeah, there's very few companies that are green today. OGI, Emerald Health. We've got YOLO up a tiny bit.
You know, we had a big update yesterday, as evidenced by the Horizons Marijuana Life Sciences Index, and today it's given a lot of that gain back, about half the gain of that. And if we put up the chart quickly, we can see that. Mm-hmm. So this is a yeah. There you go.
That just looks like us still.
Yeah, just, oh, there we go. So anyway, big candle, and a bit of a correction coming back. But that happens a lot. Look, we had a big one here, and then a correction. Big one here, correction. We don't want this to happen, though, do we? Big down one here, and a big up here. So there you go.
There you go. There's some uppy-downy action.
But you're looking at the list, and it looks like most of them, again, but the ETF here would suggest that most of them are off.
Absolutely. So there you go. That's our green and red candles for the moment.
Right.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay. I'm going to throw up.
You're going to throw up?
I'm going to throw up
right here,
right on my computer.
Wait, you got a cup over there.
Do you think that'll?
I think the keyboard might be difficult.
I'm going to put up the gold ETF quickly. Are we throwing to something here shortly?
Yes, we are. But we can look at gold because it's been
gold's been on a tear, and if you follow the business news on a regular basis, everybody's talking about gold is sort of breaking out of a pattern. And we saw big resistance here, a bit of a correction. Then the Fed said they look likely they're going to stand pat on rates. And look at this, 1, 2, 3 days in a row. You know, gold's up $20 here the last 3 days, maybe more. No, more than that, about $40. Sorry.
Yeah, 3 times a lady.
3 times a lady.
You know that tune.
Yeah, 3 times a lady.
Once, twice. 3 times a lady.
You got a good voice.
Oh, well, thank you.
You ever sing solo?
No.
Solo, you can't hear you?
Solo. YOLO solo.
Wow.
You know, I'm going to toss to an interview I did.
Okay.
I talked to Andrew Grieve, who's the CEO of Zenabis Global.
Okay.
And here's what
Enjoying the show, everybody. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram.
Hey there, I'm joined in this segment by Andrew Grieve, who's the CEO of Zenabis Global Inc., trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol ZENA, Z-E-N-A. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for coming in here today. Why don't we just start with a brief overview of Zenabis so everyone knows what your company does and what it's all about?
Absolutely. Zenabis is a business that brought together 2 companies previously. First, it was Sun Pharm on the cannabis side, and then Bevo Agro Incorporated on the other side. The other side was a propagation business. That business was listed for the last 18 years, and that business has $33 million in revenue, $8 million of EBITDA in propagation, which is the toughest part of growing. It's growing products from seed to sapling. On the cannabis side, Sun Pharm was co-founded by 3 individuals who put in $17 million of their own capital. They then raised a total of $72 million privately, and they had 3 indoor facilities across the country, 2 of which are already licensed. Atholville is our facility in New Brunswick. It has a design capacity of 34,000 kilograms. It is intended to be completed by June of 2019. We have a licensed facility in Delta, which is primarily going to be focused on extraction, and we have a facility in Stellarton, which will be licensed imminently.
Okay, cool. And recently you yourself have become the CEO of Zenabis. Why don't you just, because we talked off camera, I found it pretty interesting, a little bit about your background and where you're coming from.
Absolutely. My background is I actually ran a financial advisory business on the infrastructure side for the last 9 years. That business is called Agentis Capital. We generally advise large institutional clients, people like PSP, CPPIB, CDPQ, BCIMC, large construction companies, Kiewit, Fluor, ACS, Acciona on infrastructure transactions in North America and around the world. And so we advised on more than $20 billion of transactions over the last 9 years. It's been an incredibly interesting experience. And then in addition to that, I've also spent the last 15 years in the military. I'm a major in the Canadian Armed Forces in the reserves, and I'm an artillery officer.
Cool. Yeah, and you said you command a couple of howitzers, or?
Yeah, so I have a battery of howitzers under my command. So I have 4 105mm howitzers, 2 81mm mortars. I have about 70 people who work for me in the military on a part-time basis back in Vancouver. Okay.
So don't mess with this guy. So, but also your team, at least one of them also has a military background. Why don't you get into your team a little bit?
Absolutely. So the individual who has a military background is Mike McGinty. He's the Chief Administrative Officer of the business. He was actually my instructor at the Joint Command Staff Program, which is a leadership training program for people to be promoted to full colonel in the Canadian Armed Forces. He has spent 25 years in the British Army. He commanded an attack aviation helicopter regiment in Iraq. He commanded coalition helicopter forces in Afghanistan, did 2 tours on the ground in Northern Ireland. He's an amazingly disciplined individual, and he brings an absolutely fantastic approach to getting things done and execution. It took a bit for me to persuade him to come on, but I was incredibly grateful for him to join the team and also for the board to let me build a team of people that work well with me.
Cool. And you mentioned that your previous company had invested $5 million into Zenabis.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as part of the transaction, the amalgamation of Bevo and Pharm to create Zenabis, we raised an incremental $72 million of capital. And Agentis, which is the business where I'm an owner and I was previously the co-head of advisory, we invested $5 million of our own capital. And really, we love to invest in businesses where we have the opportunity to make a difference from a management standpoint. We've completed 18 principal investments over time, and while we spend some of our time on financial advisory, we also love principal investing, and I just love the management team and the founders and the board of directors.
Yeah, and which brings us to the craziest thing I've heard all day is that you don't take a compensation for your role as CEO?
So there is a compensation plan, but there's no short-term compensation. So there's no salary, there's no short-term incentive plan. There's a performance incentive payment that's based solely on 2020 EBITDA per share and 2020 earnings per share with a reasonably high hurdle. And then it's a double trigger requirement. And so we also need the share price to be above a certain level at the time the incentive payments are made. And they wouldn't start until 2021. And it would take a year for the incentive payments to be made. As a result, I essentially received nothing. I think it's $1 a year until at the earliest 2021. And from my perspective, I looked at the founders and the fact that many of the founders of Pharm hadn't taken any salary the entire time they'd done the work. Right. And I tried to come up with, as an investor, what I thought would be the perfect approach to alignment between a CEO and the shareholders. This is what I came up with. Okay,
fair enough. There's a lot of recent press releases here, but before we get into a couple of those, just tell us about how you plan to compete in this industry, which is super competitive. There's tons of money. There's big, giant companies all over the place. What differentiates your company that you can kind of swim in this shark-infested waters?
Absolutely. The first thing I would say is that in terms of our production capacity on the cultivation side, we have an absolutely amazing chief growing officer. Leo Benny has spent his entire life growing. He's an expert. He actually built the Langley facility from the 2.5 acres that it was in 1986 up to the 48 acres it is now. And he has a very different approach to growing relative to some others. He's going to bring an amazing amount of expertise, and we're very confident that he's going to be able to grow at a very low cost, but with an incredible level of quality. We aim to have 480 tons approximately of capacity by 2020. And our objective is to compete with the largest players in the market. Beyond that, in terms of our approach to the customer relationship in Canada, we actually take a humble approach to the customer relationship where we go to the customer and we aim to under-promise and then over-deliver. And we also aim to ask them what it is that they want rather than push our product on them. That's resulted in us having distribution relationships with 6 provinces and 1 territory, but also having amazing reference clients. And we believe that that actually is a differentiator. The other thing that I believe will provide differentiation is just our approach to our values and governance. We have 5 independent directors, only 2 members of the board of directors are part of the management team. That's me and then Leo, the chief growing officer. And there really is alignment. And then from a values standpoint, our values are excellence, responsibility, compliance, and delivery of stakeholder value. And it's essential that compliance is one of our values in a regulated industry.
Okay, so right now you guys are in a rapid growth phase. Would that be fair to characterize it that way?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I took on this position, I talked to the lead individual from a human resources standpoint, Laura. I said, we need to grow from 400 people to 2,500 people over the next 11 and a half months, and that's excluding any global acquisitions or any additional business endeavors around the world, of which there will be many. And she said, that sounds ambitious. And I said, absolutely, but we have an approach to recruiting that will bring us those people, but will ensure that we have the right people from the outset. Rather than having an approach to recruiting where we simply interview people, we have a testing approach where we have 6 tests that I've calibrated over the last 9 years that allows us to understand someone's capabilities, how they'll work with others, and what role they're appropriate for, hire people appropriately, keep them in roles where it makes sense, and you'll end up with an organization that flourishes.
Okay, so let's go over these last couple of press releases. You had January 23rd, there's acquisition of Top Grow Holdings for $12 million. What was that? How did you identify that transaction?
Leo identified that transaction.
Yeah.
Leo, as a chief growing officer, is responsible not only for the conversion of the Langley facility to cannabis, but also for the maintenance of our propagation business. As I said, that business has $33 million of revenue, $8 million in EBITDA. We don't intend to walk away from it or from our clients. That acquisition was essential in order to continue on with the propagation business after we commence conversion of our Langley facility.
Okay, and just yesterday, the 28th, the completion acquisition 51% of Hillsboro Corp. Tell us about that and what that means for Zenabis.
So Hillsboro Corp is True Buch. True Buch is our kombucha partner. We wanted to complete a transaction where we took one of our partners, we acquired a majority stake in the business. We did it using equity to ensure alignment with the management team. It's a fantastic product with a great flavor profile that currently is distributed only in Alberta. We're going to take that product nationwide with a fantastic management team that's incentivized to work with us, and then we're going to add a THC and CBD version of the product upon legalization of, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's a different approach, but we want our approach to our full consumer product line to be based on partnerships with management teams that work well with us.
Yeah, okay, so you're going to get ahead of the curve there and I guess test your tea products before the government says, you know, you can sell this now. Yeah.
What we'll end up doing is we'll have a portfolio of consumer brands that are available in stores prior to the launch of a THC and CBD product.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. And why not just give people watching an overview of what they could expect this year in terms of milestones to see how you're progressing and performing?
First milestone I would say that's going to matter is we'll continue to bring on additional rooms, licensed rooms at our Atholville facility. We anticipate completing that facility in June of 2019. Sure. Licensing in Stellarton, we anticipate shortly additional rooms being licensed there. Licensing of our Langley facility and completion of rooms there. Additional partnerships and acquisitions on the consumer product side. Acquisitions and greenfield opportunities around the world as well. It's Zenabis Global, and the global part really does matter. And we'll really be doing a lot. It is
sounds like a lot.
But if you have an approach based on discipline, effort, and an organization that really takes responsibility for its behaviors across every level, then you can do things very quickly. And I've learned that from all of my past principal transactions over all the time I've been an investor, and I've learned that from the military as well. responsibility and discipline can drive amazing outcomes.
Awesome, Andrew. Well, thanks for coming in. We'd love to have you back in a quarter or so and see how the company's doing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you like the show, you'll love our website. Visit us at www.midasletter.com for interviews with key CEOs, cannabis news, and to subscribe to our newsletter.
So, guys, we were just chatting about the, I'm going to try to say our viewer's name, Gehirnkrampf 666 was asking, how is being in the military relevant to the cannabis industry? It's all about execution. Well, they might know something a little bit about organization, but what do you think about that?
Well, listen, everybody that spends time in the military and you know, spends time and they complete their mission, they're very disciplined. They get things done. They're extremely organized, and they apply it to the business world. I wish, if I had to do one thing over, I wish I would have spent a couple years in boot camp, for instance.
Well, yeah, I mean, but if you can't get out, you can't just spend.
I would have probably been.
You can't do a month little like tune-up and then.
I'm just going for a month little tune-up.
Yeah.
No, I think military-backed people are very competent because they're organized and they're disciplined. They get up early. They're not afraid to. You know, they get things done.
Yeah, I mean, well, you saw the energy that he had. That guy was,
and he kept using the word disciplined approach.
Yeah.
Discipline.
Yeah, so I think there's, just like anything else, there's a lot of life skills that can be directly applied to business for sure.
Famous Irish poet said, the history of civilization is the history of discipline.
Wow. Well, with that, guys, I think
okay,
we got to look at some trivia. Later, Ed.
You know what, I'm going to go for a walk.
Time to test your IQ and no Googling allowed. Don't cheat. So today, marijuana grows all over the world, and some of the top producing countries are India, Morocco, Colombia, Jamaica, Afghanistan, Nigeria, and yes, of course, Canada. Our question is, where is the cannabis plant found indigenously? Is it Central and South Asia, the Americas, Eastern Europe, Central Africa, or your backyard? Stick around because we'll give you the answer a little later in the show.
Hey gang, we're here with Steve Martin, who is the CEO of Pond Technologies Holdings Inc., trading on the TSX Venture under the ticker Pond. Steve, how's it going?
It's going very well. Except other than being on the ice planet of Hoth today, and I'm dressed appropriately for it, for shoveling and removing snow.
Oh yeah, today I had like 2.5 feet of snow in my driveway. It was a mess, so which prevented a lot of people potentially from coming to Cantech, where you guys are have your booth on display.
We do.
Yeah. So how's that been so far?
Well, it seems like quite a few people made it there. You know, it's I think it's an important enough event, and people want some exposure to the kind of technologies and the opportunities that are around. It's been a great show for us. Met with many past investors and many possible future investors as well.
So who do you find approaching you and the booth the most? Is it more on the institutional side, or just regular retail style investors, or?
I think we garner enough interest in what we're doing because of the sort of triple sustainability, where we're able to take a industrial waste and turn it into something of high value that also meets other sustainability requirements like sustainable proteins. I think there's enough interest that everybody comes to see us. We have a lot of millennials. Millennials seem to be really enthralled with what we're doing, but as well traditional investors who are looking for sort of the next thing, what's going to come up next. And sustainability challenges seem to be what everybody is focusing on.
Yeah, and I mean, actually, let's do a quick, brief overview of Pond again. I know a lot of viewers are familiar with your company, but just to recap for those who aren't, you guys grow
we grow algae, microalgae, off of the untreated emissions from large final emitters, or basically any source of industrial pollution. So if you think about it, oddly, pollution is actually the food for algae. Yeah. And the algae that we grow has remarkable value in the market as a sustainable protein. If people, in the morning start their day with a nice greens drink, likely they're having spirulina, which is algae. Additionally, there are other derived products that you can have from. One of them is in my hand, Regenerix. It's an astaxanthin product. Mm-hmm. Prevents swelling and a pile of other things. It's actually tremendous for if you've got a sore back from shoveling the snow.
Yeah, that's. Do you mind if I take a peek here?
Yeah.
Okay, so Regenerex, and the main ingredient here is algae.
The main ingredient is an algae-derived material called astaxanthin. It's the most powerful antioxidant known, and it's not just a little bit more powerful. It's like 300 times more powerful than everything else. So as we're concerned about oxidative damage to our body, this is the stuff that does it the best, and it is also what makes salmon the lovely pinky orange color that it is. It comes from that algae, yeah. And it's a very challenging to grow algae. We just purchased this company. We're completing the acquisition over the next couple of days. The definitive agreement's been signed. They have production facilities out in BC and very proprietary extraction technology, which gives us an advantage in the market. So our growth technology combined with their extraction technology and the lovely product give us a really good opportunity of vertical integration.
And that's the kind of thing that you would just take as sort of a health kind of, you don't need to have something wrong with you, it's just...
No, you don't, but it's actually an unusual product because many of the sort of health foods we take, like you take vitamin C every day. Truthfully, vitamin C is preventing scurvy, so you don't really kind of notice the absence of scurvy. You'd kind of, if I had scurvy, I'd take it. This is a little bit different because this is a product, a wellness product that actually does something. You will feel the difference. It fights all 3 causes of inflammation. It actually has some remarkable, sort of anecdotal, but the literature seems to point to it. It does things like help prevent sunburn. It prevents the oxidative damage due to exposure to the sun in real time. People report that it helps with sleep, but if you're concerned about oxidative damage, oxidants in general, people take vitamin E. Well, take one of these or 300 vitamin E capsules. Your choice.
What's sort of the price point of something like that?
It depends. This is a 4 milligram product. This one runs about $30 for the 60. I think there's 60 in this one. Sure. We also have a 12 milligram product that's sort of new to the marketplace. And one of the real advantages of this is it's not an unknown product. There are other manufacturers, but they all typically have quite a fishy smell to them. Right. And that's to do with the extraction technology. Our extraction technology, a wet extraction technology, doesn't provide that fishy smell. So my wife, who's a vegetarian, she doesn't like the other ones, but these ones are fine.
Huh, that's very interesting. So you guys are cleaning all the pollution on planet Earth and then giving people wonderful antioxidant...
and food and fish meal. Yeah. We are trying to be a virtuous company, affecting a virtuous circle.
Sure. So last that I heard when you were working with, was it Stelco? I don't want to...
Yeah, we're building a full-scale, we're building a plant that will be growing this material, largely astaxanthin or related products at Markham District Energy, which is a small combined heat and power plant owned by the city of Markham up in Markham, Ontario. Yep. But we're also building a large-scale algae facility at Stelco and their Lake Erie Steelworks, and there we'll be growing sort of more bulk algae products, spirulina, the one I mentioned earlier, for probably targeted mostly for aquaculture and animal feeds. Mm-hmm. But additionally, there's another interesting product that comes out of there as well, and that's food colorants. People are becoming more and more concerned about where they're coming from, and synthetic ones are sort of poo-pooed, and rightfully so, I would say. The only source of blue food colorant that's allowed is from algae, and we'll be growing that at Stelco as well. It's called phycocyanin. All sorts of great names in algae. Yeah. Astaxanthin, phycocyanin, lots of other ones.
No, it's amazing you're able to find extra use cases for sort of, I guess, the core business.
Extra use at very high value. Phycocyanin is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars per ton.
Wow, okay. So you mentioned the build out of the Stelco. What's the time frame on that where you'd sort of it would be up and running, or is
we're doing the first? It's a stage. With any large infrastructure project, it's a stage thing. The first stage is the seed bioreactor, the initial bioreactor that grows the algae for the other bioreactors. We're installing our 3rd generation bioreactor right now in our test site. And that work should be completed over the next sort of 30 days, and then we'll start the shakeout, where the production values end up being, and then we continue on to the full build out at Stelco.
Okay, so is this the kind of thing where, looking really, really long term, is the Stelco project being quite large, is that sort of almost like going to become a proof of concept for the company moving forward, where you can say, look, this works on large scales and we're going to...
Well, I mean, we're convinced. I mean, I think it's beyond proof of concept. I mean, we have sort of the body of knowledge that says that yes, we can do this. It will be the first large-scale commercial plant. So, to the extent that it proves to the market that this is a viable option and shows the way forward, I would say that upon completion of the first project, then the world is your oyster, right? It's just repeat until wealthy.
Okay, great. Well, looking ahead in the year, is there any milestones you want to touch on that investors might be able to look for?
Lots of them, but I don't think I'm allowed to talk about them.
Okay, I understand. Okay. Well, that's great. Steve, thanks for joining us, and enjoy the rest of Cantech.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
No problem. All right, so we are going to get our trivia answers right now.
All right, earlier in the show, we asked you if you know where the cannabis plant is found indigenously. Sure, it's grown all over the planet now, but it had to start somewhere, right? Was it Central and South Asia, the Americas, Eastern Europe, Central Africa, or your backyard? The answer is Central and South Asia, and how do we know that? The presence of cannabis seeds charred more than 5,000 years ago at an ancient burial site in present-day Romania attests to the long human use of the drug. Cannabis was also used by ancient Hindus and Nihang Sikhs in India and Nepal thousands of years ago. So it's nothing new, folks.
Welcome back.
Pot's been around for a long time.
I feel like, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Older than the hills. Well, maybe not older than the hills, but certainly older than us.
Yeah, and speaking of hills, I've been checking out the Murder Mountain doc series on Netflix, which is cannabis related.
Really?
Yeah, it had a really strong hook, but it's sort of losing my interest now. So, but those are kind of the original California growers in Humboldt County.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but it started strong and it's kind of fizzling out. I just thought I'd pass that along.
Well,
what do you watch?
You know, I watch basically sports. I like news, documentaries. I'm not interested in. I really don't watch any bullshit. Yeah. Because it's so much of it's bullshit.
Some would argue news could fall in that.
Well, yeah, you know, I'm trying to find out events like what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, you know, is there problems between China and the United States or
China?
You know, there's stuff. I don't know the direction of what we're going. When you see some of these companies talking about, like Whirlpool said, you know, things are slowing down. You know, there's some headwinds there. And so now the market, maybe that's why the market can't get going further here. Maybe it's rolling over again.
Well, it's interesting when you look at intraday, things at the very beginning of the day were looking kind of good, and then they were looking really bad, and it's sort of recovering a bit from, because Canopy was down over $5 just as an example, and now I think it's less than that. It was 4 something last we looked.
I'm very, I'm watching this S&P index, like we put it up at the beginning of the show, that line. Watch that line. If that line gets pierced, then maybe we're okay. But if that starts to roll over, we may go down and do some kind of test of that reaction low that we had about a month ago. Mm-hmm. Okay. I wouldn't mind putting up the chart of Emerald Health.
Yeah, we should, because that one
that had a real run.
I think it's 5% today, which is good on the, which is good for today, obviously. They're one of the standouts that's green in a sea of bloody red.
Okay, that's not the chart I want to show. Here it is. So,
what do you think, Ed?
Well,
look at that green candle.
This is a 6 month, big candle yesterday, big candle today, but big wick. You know? Big wick.
Big swinging wicks. Yep.
And usually, but big volume. So let's see here. We got a bottom. I don't like that big wick. Big wicks, we saw a very big wick here. Look what happened. Big wick here. And then it doesn't always happen. Big tail. Well, we've had a good move. We've moved from about the low $2 level to about $3.50. And today it was all the way up to about $3.75 and pulled back. You know what? And look at the volumes back in here, much higher. But this was about the biggest day we've had since back in here, in this 6 months, so about 4 months. In the last 4 months, this is the biggest volume.
Yeah. Well, we've got a viewer who wants us to look at Juju, and another viewer, Jonathan Marlowe, is talking about looking into Israel. Jonathan, I'm not sure exactly what you mean.
Well, you were just in Israel, weren't you?
I went to Tel Aviv for the doc. They've got the best research going on pretty much on the planet, and we spoke to Raphael Mechoulam, who's the one who pretty much discovered THC. So there's a lot of good stuff there, but when it comes to the capital markets, there's there's some interest from Canadian. Yeah, so sorry, say that again, sir, in the control room. Oh, they're exporting cannabis now.
Really?
Yeah. So
everybody's getting into the act.
Yeah, but I can't buy an Israel exporting cannabis stock, I don't think, or can I? Well, maybe Jonathan will let us know. He seems to know more about it than I do. So, cool. So, do you want to look at Juju quick?
Yeah, I'm going to put up Juju here. Well,
I feel like we talk about Juju.
You know what? I mean, it hasn't done much for a while, although it had a nice bit of a run here at the beginning of the year. Moved up from about 7.5, 8 cents, all the way up to 14, which is almost a double. Almost a double, but
that's the attractive nature of those tiny share prices, right? If it moves up a penny, it's like a massive % gain.
Yeah.
So it's easy to, well, it's not easy to make a lot of money, but I mean, if you are at the bottom,
but look at back in here, massive volume, massive move. But here's the volume here. You know, like even though we've had a hell of a run, it hasn't been as great as the move that we had back in October, in pre-October. So, you know what I mean? Look, they're doing some great things. We had a nice upward trend, but they've given a lot back. There's a lot of shares outstanding there. I know management's really committed to doing some great things.
Yep.
We'll have to revisit.
Indeed, we will.
Okay.
But first, more trivia.
All right, time to test your IQ. There's been a lot of talk about the lottery for cannabis retail storefronts in Ontario. 25 random people won a golden ticket of sorts when they were picked to open up the province's first bricks and mortar stores. But you know, lottery winners in the traditional sense don't always end up rich and happy in the long run. So here's our question for you today. What percentage of lottery winners in the U.S. end up bankrupt with nothing? Is it A, 10%, because most invest their money pretty well? B, 20%, some people cannot resist the binge? C, 50%, half of lucky people are just plain stupid? Or D, 70%, because you know what, they didn't deserve to win in the first place? Stick around because we'll have the answer coming up shortly on the show.
Hey everybody, I'm joined by COO of Cognitive Neurosciences Ltd, Tom Sawyer. Tom, how's it going?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. So I see you guys were down at the Cantech conference there.
Yes.
How's that been going?
It's been good. Busy day. My colleague's giving a talk right now and a lot of good meetings. So yeah, it's been positive. Thank you.
Awesome. So for those who don't know, your company is involved with doing cognitive tests to some degree, which would potentially allow patients or people to understand if they're at risk for dementia or other things. Can you elaborate on that for the viewers?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, the idea of being able to accurately and early diagnose dementia is quite an important thing. So, you know, dementia is the biggest single healthcare challenge of the 21st century, and currently the system is terrible at diagnosing people. And one of the main ways that you can diagnose people is to show cognitive impairment, right? So they're not performing as well as they should be for their age or their group, and able to spot that early.
Right, and so the main, I guess, product or IP that the company has right now is that we've seen it before on the show, the app that was in an iPad, and you're able to pictures flash up, and you're supposed to identify a category.
That's right.
And if your score is off, it might suggest that it's not clicking, and you might be a bit slower than you should be.
Yes, I think that's a fair description. So Really what we have is something that we like to say is equivalent to, say, a blood pressure test. So if you go to see your doctor and you have a blood pressure test, the test is cheap, easy to administer, but it's meaningful. It says something about your cardiovascular health. But if you have high blood pressure, it doesn't mean that you're going to drop dead from a heart attack tomorrow. It just says we need to investigate and see why that is. Similarly for cognition, if you are not where we think you should be, relative to your age, for example, then we're able to examine that and say, okay, well, why is this? Can we explain it? Are you under medication? Are you alcohol impaired, and so on? If you can't explain it, you would refer to a specialist.
And so what's the, obviously this is something that you want to sell to healthcare systems, or so what's the strategy to go into, what's the biggest market that you want to go for? Is it US, or where would you be looking?
Sure, yeah. I mean, obviously the US healthcare market is the biggest market in the world, and we're keen to get in there, absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, I think we can split the way that we approach the market into two ways. There's the clinical use, so this is used by doctors, which requires regulatory approval. But also recently, at the end of last year, we signed a commercial agreement for non-clinical use, so to be used as part of a suite of healthcare monitoring apps, which are then to be used by people who are taking control of their own health. And by using that, they will be able to access cheaper insurance policies and so on, and we're able to supply a cognitive module, i.e. something that allows us to test how well people are performing.
Yeah, and there's a look at what we're dealing with there. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so looking at your recent press releases, there's clinical trials that you guys have been carrying out. Why don't I just let you cover the key items from sort of the end of last year and moving into this year? What are the milestones that Cognitive Neurosciences has sort of crossed?
Yes, I think at the end of last year, the exciting thing has really been this partnership agreement we signed with the company called Dakadu, who supply this suite of healthcare monitoring software to insurance company clients. This is a very interesting thing for us because this enables us to really get into revenue ahead of regulatory approval. Because obviously anything you approve for clinical use has to go through the FDA, Health Canada, and so on, which is a very long and time-consuming process. So the ability to show that we can generate revenue ahead of that approval process is very important for us, and this is a very exciting partnership.
Has that process started? I mean, how does that? I understand it's complicated, and you know, it will take a long time. But have you guys reached out to Health Canada, or how do you even start that?
Yes, so the way you start it is you design a trial and then you effectively have that approved by various regulatory authorities. So for example, with regard to the FDA in the US, we would pre-submit our trial design to them. They would then comment, we'd take them on board, and then we would go ahead with the trial. So the trial we're actually conducting in London in the UK at the moment, and that's ongoing, and we expect that to really take till the end of the year to complete before we are able to do the submission. The same goes for Health Canada, the same for European regulatory approval, so they all happen, you know, fairly concurrently.
Yeah, and you can take that trial and then build it out to different nations as you see fit, right? So I guess the potential is sort of limited to the number of countries or healthcare systems in some respects.
Exactly that, and obviously, you know, we'll address markets in their sort of relative importance. So North America obviously important, Europe very important as well.
Okay, great. Well, Tom, thanks so much for coming in, and enjoy the rest of the conference. And we'd love to have you back, especially as the trials are winding down, and kind of see where the company's at.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll get back to those trivia answers right now.
Earlier in the show, we asked you about lottery winners. Why? Because Ontario held a lottery for the first cannabis retail storefronts. 25 people won the golden ticket. But when it comes to winning a traditional lottery, not everybody ends up rich and happy in the long run. And we asked you what percentage of lottery winners in the US end up actually bankrupt with nothing. The answer is, in fact, D. 70% of people who win a lottery or get a big windfall end up going totally broke in just a few years. They get a sense of euphoria and they think it's going to go forever, but it doesn't. Which is good news for all of us who have not won the lottery.
Money and you win it, you're going to give it away because you're stupid.
I don't think I'd be one of the 70%, and I'll tell you why. I've spoken about this before. If I won the lottery, and I do play once in a while, I would still want to work. I don't want to not work ever again.
You wouldn't want to go out and...
I'd probably, if I didn't work, I'd be an alcoholic.
You know, have parties with, do blow and get hookers and... Hey?
That's a wonderful role model behavior right there. No, but I mean, like, you would get bored of doing nothing. Or at least I would get bored of doing nothing. So I actually like working. But on the flip side, 70%, like, holy shit. You know, in the U.S., I understand they're taxed, but if you win the Powerball, that's like $100 million.
Just saying, there was a lady that won the lottery in Quebec, and she came from a big family, one of the first big ones, like $6-7 million. This is like 40 years ago, 30 years ago. Yeah. When it was all over, husband left her for a younger woman. All the kids were fighting over the money. And she said, they interviewed her after it was all gone. She said, I wish we never won that fucking money. Yeah. You know, because it just destroyed her family. They had a nice family. They were a unit, you know. Money, if you're not careful, whew.
Well, there's that one couple, I think they were in Halifax. They won the lottery and they gave all the money away. And I think they kept like $100 grand. Yeah. But their reason was like they didn't want all the attention and they're quite happy with their lives the way they are. But then they went right to the store and bought another ticket. So it's like, it's
well,
just
maybe
sort
they wanted
of
to give some more away.
I guess
hey, oh, they forgot. You know what? We don't have enough. Oh, did you watch 60 Minutes on Sunday night? No. They had there was a glitch in some of the state lotteries in the States. You know, there would be an amount where you had to win get in the 5 numbers, and if you didn't get them, they'd go 4 out of 5. Mm-hmm. And some math people figured out that the odds would then swing in your favor. So this elderly couple who were math people, they invested $18 million over a period of years, and they brought in $24 million. They made $6 million because they knew that the odds, it was a reset thing, you know? Yeah. Anyway.
Well, the other thing too is like, about the people going broke. Like, let's say you won $50 million and you put 5 in a just a regular 3%
maybe
savings.
In some of the stocks we talk about here, for instance.
Okay, you got a calculator. What's 3% of what's 3% of 5 million?
3% of 5 million is $5 million is $150,000. I believe.
So you're getting that a year on your 5, and even if you piss away,
I know, but come on, but look at
70%. Come on,
look at Allen Iverson, probably one of the most gifted NBA players. If he made $9 million in a year, he spent 10. You see what I mean? Like, it's like the government. No matter what they get, which is bullshit, they want more. No matter what they get, they spend more than that. So they always say we're short. Of course you're short, you dumb fucks. Like, come on. You always spend more. If you always spend more, you're going to be short. That's why the people that can save usually are the happiest people. Live below your means. I'm not one of them. I hate to say it.
Well, I mean, there's some parallels to the whole cannabis, even the stock. There's millionaires now that didn't think they'd ever be a millionaire because they invested in the right stock 2 years ago, 3 years ago, like Canopy at 50 cents or something, and sold it at $68. So maybe I wonder if they'll be able to hang on to it. I bet some of our viewers are like those guys.
Like, live below your means, and you're probably going to have a little bit of a more comfortable psychological life.
Yep, psychological life.
Well, you'll be more comfortable psychologically.
Yeah.
No, if you spend more than what comes in, you're going to have a psychological life.
Well, speaking of,
you won't be comfortable psychologically.
Well, speaking of psychology, if you look at the last couple years in the cannabis space,
yes,
you had the opportunity to make a ton of cash, like a ton.
Yes, a ton.
And I think now it's sort of like that's almost become the expectation, but it can't continue that way.
No, it can't.
So you're still going to be able to make a lot of money. Like we just saw Canopy, for example, it did double in price over the space of what, 3 weeks or something like that. But it's not. I think the likelihood of doing like a 10-bagger or a 50-bagger.
Well, Canopy, unless something crazy happens and we have hyperinflation, which may happen, but you just don't go. You don't double, right? You take a penny and you double it every day for 30 days. A penny.
Yeah.
You know what it is after 30 days? You ever hear this? What do you think it is? A penny.
You're going to make me look dumb.
Well, take a wild guess. A penny. If you double it 30 times.
Oh, 30.
Like 1, 2, 4, 8, 16.
That's permutations and combinations.
What do you think it is?
To the 30 power.
It's a round number.
Okay. Let's just say it's big. Bigger than 30.
Take a guess.
Ed.
$1 million. It's $1 million. $1 million.
No.
It is 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512. Then you get to 1,000. Then you do it again.
2,000.
4,000, 8,000, 16,000, 32,000. And the 30th time, bang, $1 million.
Wow. How many times have you hit that?
So all you have to do is you got to take $100. Look, you want to start with $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, you eliminate all that shit. You start $1,000 and double it 10 times, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's 15. I think 10. So you start at 1,000. Say I want to double it once a year for 10 years. You'll have $1 million.
Wow.
I know it sounds duh.
Yeah. No.
And I think if you take a penny and you compound it at 20% for 100 years, it's $1 billion.
Wow.
It is insanity what time does. If you've got time, we should do a show. Well, we are doing a show. No, I'll tell you.
Let's do a show.
It's so, what is it? KISS? Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
But there's all these things out there. But you know what the problem is? It's giving it back. Most people have to give it back, or they take a chance. Once you make money, you start to think you're smart. Once you think you're smart, you're susceptible to all the carnival barkers out there selling snake oil snake oil.
Well, even if you are smart, you're going to lose some. Everybody loses.
Did you know Newton got sucked into the South Sea bubble? This is the guy that's
considered. Are you talking about Sir Isaac Newton?
Sir Isaac Newton. Google it. He got sucked into the South Sea bubble and lost all his money. Here's a guy that could calculate the movements of stars, and he could not determine the madness of men.
That's some deep shit.
Deep shit. Deep shit. Anyway, I feel a little. You've got a lot out of me today.
No, I feel like I did indeed get a lot out of you. That's kind of that makes me I know it's a little down and
humbling,
feel like I'm down.
Humbling.
Well, humbling, but also like
just do one thing this year. Double your stake, and then let's do it again next year, and let's do it 10 times. 1, 2, 4, 8,
you know what
16,
the other thing
32, 64, 128, 256.
Yeah.
500. Okay, so I counted the one.
But what about this?
2, 4. Yeah, it's $1 million.
But during that equation, at some point, you have to take some and enjoy it.
Well,
right? It's like
but you're starting with 1,000. Why would you take some? Why wouldn't you just keep doing it? And you do it a few more times, and you got $5 million, and you retire.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I haven't been able to do it.
You can't take it with you, so you got to enjoy some of it.
Oh, come on!
It's like having nice wine in a cellar, right? At some point, you got to start pulling bottles and drinking the Brunellos. You can't just be drinking that fusion stuff all the time.
You can't.
I don't even know if they make that anymore.
Rot good.
Yeah.
Vinegar. Yeah. Do you know that that's why the French use wine, because it cuts fat, right?
Somebody just said about you. Did Ed just say Google it? I figured he would say go look it up at the library. Yeah. Can you give him a virtual slap?
Well, go look. I didn't say go look it up at the library, did I?
No, you said Google it.
Yeah.
When he said, I would have thought Ed would have said go look it up.
Because of my age.
Or I feel like you got to give him a slap.
No, you know what? Let's have positive vibration. Positive vibration wins. Negative vibration. Jeez, I need to see a dentist. I hate, getting old. I hate it. But
that's what the CBD's for.
Well, anyway, so it's 3:59. 4 o'clock. What do we forget? The market's about to close.
Oh, has it closed, or we still have a number of seconds?
30 seconds.
We're gonna ding 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 it in a second here. Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it. Come on. 10. Count off.
There it is.
That's my head. That's the bell in my...
We're a little overexcited for that, given it wasn't the best day ever. So
Yeah.
I know some people in here were winners because they had Emerald.
Winner, chicken dinner?
That's what it is. You know how they came up with that?
I got to take a look. I got to see. Go ahead. Where did that come from? Winner, chicken dinner. Do you know?
I don't know. They use it in video games now, though. I know that.
They do?
Oh, yeah.
Well, what about, I'm going to see how the S&P closed, because that, I'm telling you, I'm watching that one. If that thing starts to roll over.
Yeah, Ed was, Ed, I'm just hearing this just in. There's been a big surge in slang. We were talking about that. Slang.
Yeah.
That can't be the ticker.
SLNG.
Oh, slang.
They came out today. It's a new issue. They came out at $1.50. I think they raised $40 million. I think Canaccord was involved. Started trading today, and at least up until about 10 minutes ago, the range was, I think, about 2.25. The high, and the low was $1.64, and it was trading around $1.95 last I looked. We're going to look at that in a minute, just to see what.
I think we should. I think that's what
we're going to do it right now.
Yeah, especially when I get the information in the ear. It's like
$1.99. Look,
that's
at
serious business when it comes in
here.
here.
And I think it traded 10 million, 11 million shares. That's one to watch. But apparently there was a funding a couple years ago at a nickel. So
that's the 5-cent round that we always talk about.
That's the round I never hear about. You always hear about it. Oh, there was a 5-cent round? I never got a call.
Oh, we did. We tried to reach you, but you weren't available.
My phone got disconnected because I'm so broke and stupid. Yeah, I know. Anyway, I digress, as usual.
So that's interesting. So
what do we got next? We got some time here. Or?
We are going to look at something called Best Buds, which I'm really looking forward to.
I like that.
I know you're all wondering what the top 5 strains of the week are, and here's Adamo Barbieri to give you the information you need to know.
Hey, Adamo here, back with another segment we like to call...
Ow! Oh, here we go, here we go! Here we go, here we go!
Breaking down the 5 strains of the week so you don't have to end up like this guy.
Number 1.
Super Lemon Haze is a 2-time Cannabis Cup winner that's known for its lemony, zesty flavors. This is a sativa-dominant hybrid that makes for a mellow high, but can quickly flow straight to your head. Its THC content can reach up to as high as 25%. So for the more novice smokers out there, this means in large doses it can lead to paranoia and even anxiety.
Number 2.
Not many strains out there can hit as hard as AK-47. Case in point, when this strain made its way onto the scene starting out in Amsterdam coffee shops, customers would be known to fall off their stools mid-smoke. The reasoning behind the immense power is that the gene pool combines some of the best types of strains the world has to offer. Mixing in Colombian, Mexican, Thai, and Afghani strains, this sativa-dominant hybrid provides you with a complex, earthy flavoring. Looking past the fact that it's named after a deadly weapon, AK-47 can offer up powerful healing properties with pain, anxiety, and even bipolar disorder.
Number 3.
This is a strain with such unique flavoring that if you were to do a taste test among other strains, you would without a doubt be able to identify Agent Orange. It was given its name in tribute of the grower's father, who fought in the Vietnam War but sadly passed away due to his exposure to the deadly chemical called Agent Orange. With its THC content ranging up to about 25%, this is an extremely potent strain that leaves you with a cerebral and body high.
Number 4.
We all know this next strain as a popular rock song from one of the best musicians who's ever lived. Okay, so we couldn't afford the rights to that song, obviously, but you know which one I'm talking about. Purple Haze is a sativa that delivers you a rush of euphoria and high energy stimulation. With its THC content hitting up to 20%, it's been said that Purple Haze awakens creativity and tranquility. Reports have shown it can help with ADD, enhancing your mood, and can even help with minor inflammation.
Number 5.
This is a potent sativa that packs a punch with its 25% THC content. But when it comes to its genetics, we are left with a mystery.
I'm here to tell you today that our baby may not be yours because I was sleeping with your brother around the time that I got pregnant.
Bay 11 has a sweet and fruity aroma that is known for initiating relaxation, making this the perfect strain for patients needing daytime relief. Bay 11 has been known for enhancing perception, and because of this, it has been used to treat depression. Additionally, it can relieve mild muscular pain as well as stimulate one's appetite. And those were your 5 strains of the... Oh, sorry. Hold on here. Hello?
Hey, what are you doing? Sean here.
Oh, hey, Sean. I'm just I'm doing one of these Best Buds bits that we do. They wanted one done.
Best Buds?
Yeah.
Why are you doing Best Buds?
Oh, well, they just needed it done, so I thought you weren't here. I just took the reins.
You're doing it by yourself?
Well, yeah. I mean, they had to be done.
I see.
Yeah. Well, we have to do a tip of the week. You want to maybe jump in on that?
Oh, could I?
Oh, please, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, please.
Oh, that would be great if you could just let me do that. That would be fantastic.
All right, here, I'll even set it up again. Those were the 5 strains of the week, and your tip of the week.
Here's your tip of the week. Don't do Best Buds without your other bud. Fucking asshole.
No, it's not like that, Sean. It's just the job, right? They needed it done. And he hung up.
Here we go, here we go.
All right, thanks guys, that was awesome. I'm now joined by Michael Kadonoff, who's the CEO of Braingrid Corporation, which trades on the CSE under the ticker BGRD. Michael, how's it going?
Great, and I'm really glad to be back here. It's a pleasure and an honor.
Thanks so much, yeah, and I saw you earlier at the Cantech conference, and there seemed to be a lot of people kind of poking around your booth, asking questions, so that's always a good sign.
I hear words like upcoming stock and some sizzle. It's good. It's good to be public. It was it was a long road, but we got there.
Yeah. Okay. So just for our viewers who may not be as familiar, just fill us in on what Braingrid's all about and what the core business is.
For sure. Braingrid is a technology company, ancillary services as a solution. We're directly serving the cannabis industry, both small and large growers, to help them basically make better decisions. Not take their jobs, but make better decisions. We do that with soup to nuts, the technology, the Centroller. It's the hardware we develop and design and has a patent, all the way up through to beautiful dashboards, alarms, reports, etc. It's where we are today.
So how do you get the data? Like, what does it look like in a practical sense? If you, let's say I'm a potential client, what am I getting, and how are we working together?
Sure, we have basically 3 standard offerings. It's about light quality, air quality, and nutrient or soil quality. And we sell those packages into the grow in much greater density with far easier ease of installation than any other company I think out there. Our cost is very low and the granularity is very high. So for instance, air sense is humidity, temperature, CO2, and barometric pressure. And in that vicinity, about 250 to 1,000 square feet, you're covered. It tells you a story about what's going on in the canopy. With the recent addition of our Centroller S, we can place these anywhere without a plug. Truly plug and play, but no plug.
So what does it look like? Just as an where do you put it? What is it?
It's a little white box about the size of like an iPad mini.
Okay.
And it's white. It's kind of rounded and I think quite sleek looking. And they usually stick magnetically to steel poles, and that's the deployment. Like the grower just takes them and just goes ka-chunk, and you're done. So it's reporting in real time wirelessly over many, many hundreds of meters through a cell backhaul, lots of nerdy stuff, all the way up to them sitting on their couch with their kids, making better decisions about what will happen. And that's what I want to talk to you about today.
Yeah, so in a very practical sense, as we look at some of the graphics your company has, what would be a very real-world example of something that might get flagged by your software, which would then be acted upon, just as an example?
In order to answer that, I'd like to just highlight what we're good at right now. It's the past and the present. Excuse me, just getting over a cold.
Yeah.
The past and the present. And what that means is we're good at records, historical logs, reports, It helps the growers assign liability, support compliance activities, figured out what worked and what didn't work in the past. And that's great, but it's not super awesome. The present is also something we're good at. That gives you alarms, it helps you smooth operations, again through a real-time dashboard that's extremely easy to understand, not for engineers only. We're really focused, and where I think that the holy grail for the growers is decision support around what will happen. What happened, what's happening, what will happen is what we're promising. Don't have it yet, but our work with our PhD and plant biologist is turning out some remarkable results that we're sharing privately with WheatMD and Believe as well. Things like I'd like to be able to say in the near future are, unless you do X in the next 3 hours, you'll lose this crop in 3 days. Not now, in 3 days. If you have a PM outbreak, it's too late.
Right. Okay. So, looking at, speaking of WheatMD, I should say, January 10th, they issued a press release saying there's the first commercial deployment with WheatMD. So, just talk a little bit about that arrangement that you have with them.
Well, the first commercial deployment, thank you so much, happened in 2016, mid-2016, when both of our companies were in its nascent state. We've grown with WheatMD and have earned their trust over the years, and now have expanded into their new Strathroy facility with over 50 devices. We're very proud to be a partner and are glad to be supporting their ecosystem.
Awesome. And then just today, actually, you released another statement that an agreement with Isolocity. Isolocity, okay.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Great company, very proud to have this partnership, and more like that coming. As a public company, we're garnering a lot of interest, but just to get back to Isolocity, they're a QMS system, they're a QMS provider, and they have a lot of the activities that growers are involved in. They know what's happening and when, and who's responsible for it. We have the real-time data. Connecting those two through this relationship allows much greater data-driven growing and an understanding of, again, what works, what doesn't work, how you can avoid risk, how you can improve yields, etc.
Okay, so it looks like that would be sort of the milestones for the year to come would be striking new relationships like this, or how
complementary solutions, correct. So, things on the horizon for accretive growth would be controls companies that have chunky revenue but need to get contemporary, energy solutions, and more, but we're in forward-looking statement territory.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So, are you going to focus strictly on cannabis for the time being, or is there other applications?
We've already explored and have delivered pilots and solutions with customers across the border and outside of cannabis. We just don't talk about it much. Okay. If you can grow cannabis well, you can grow tomatoes well. Food scarcity is going to face all of us very soon, and energy management, with some of the relationships we have across the border, we're helping manage new legislation around where you get water, how much electricity you use as a grower, or in this case, a farmer. Farmers are now required to actually measure how much water they pull from an aquifer or a lake or a wellhead, and that's by law. It's not a nice to have, and we're really making it possible for them to do that. So it's great to see movement there.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Michael, for coming in today. I really appreciate it, and we look forward to following the company in the months to come.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Fraser.
No problem. Thank you. Alrighty, folks, we're just going to take a look at what's coming up tomorrow. We've got Blockstrain CEO Robert Galarza, Anthony Durkatz from First Republic Capital, Chris Miller of Koyos Beverage Corp, and he's the CEO. And we have Indiva CEO Neil Marotta, Vinny Tolia is the Flower CEO, and Allison Gordon of 48 North, who's a returning guest. We always love her, having her on the show. And we'll continue with our Cantech coverage. So make sure that you stick around tomorrow to watch our show. And over the next few minutes, Ed and I are going to sit here.
Ed and I, or
Ed and
Fraser?
Yes, Ed and I.
Fraser, is it Fraser and I or Ed and I? It depends who says it, right?
If you turn a phrase.
Oh, ho, 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 ho.
So I have a joke for you, Ed.
Okay, I like jokes.
Yeah, what was left after the French cheese factory exploded? A lot of debris.
No.
Yeah.
Debris.
I went there.
D-E-B.
Debris.
Oh, brie.
Brie.
Like the cheese, brie cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Who cut? Maybe you know what caused the factory to explode? Someone cut the cheese.
Maybe that is. Maybe you have a point there. Okay, so let's kind of round off the day here.
Okay, what do you want to talk about?
Well,
let's look at charts.
We can look at some charts. I
wait,
think.
Whoop.
Make sure that's not on speaker.
Yeah, I'll just turn that baby over. Okay, I'm turning over a new leaf. Okay.
So I'll just briefly, as we maybe find something to pull up there, but what I noticed at the Cantech conference that I think we're going to look into a little bit more on the show here and there, at least, is gaming entering the space.
Well, you know what? There's a deal coming public very soon. It's in the e-gaming space.
Yeah.
It's some of the people we know. I don't know if you know them, but I say we. James, myself. I think you might have met some of these characters, and it's a new deal. And this e-gaming thing is a big thing, right?
Yeah. Like tomorrow we have Enthusiast Gaming coming on the show.
Really?
We've had them before. They're a gaming media conglomerate, so they've been buying up. There's all these big websites that give reviews of games, previews, and they've bought them all up, and they have like tons of them. At least 50.
I got a little. They actually say that there's so many young men playing video games and that are involved in e-gaming that crime rates are down because they're at home on playing video games and they're not out drinking. And
I don't know about that, but
no, I'm not making it up.
Listen, I am a gamer. I've gamed all my life, but that didn't stop me from going out and drinking.
Getting in trouble?
Getting
were you a guy that's breaking and entering?
No, but...
well, I say violent crime. You said, why? I mean, it doesn't stop you from going out and committing some crimes.
I don't know. Maybe you're going to have to break and enter to get more money so you can play them games. I don't know. But anyway, what I find interesting about it is the industry in general is a multi-billion-dollar industry that passed the film industry in terms of total revenue over a decade ago. But there's not a lot of publicly trading companies within it, and it's only now starting to get more attention in terms of the e-gaming, which is competitive. So, and that's interesting to me because I've never paid much attention to the hyper-competitive side. Like, I don't watch people win gaming championships, you know?
But it's a big thing, right?
I guess so. I mean, it's in movie theaters, and I've seen little clips here and there, and... So, yeah, I mean, it's something to look for.
I was addicted to playing Pac-Man when I was probably, let's say, in my ute, which would have been, I'm going to say around 30 years old, okay? So 30-ish, playing Pac-Man, and you know, if you got really good at it, you could throw a quarter in the machine and play for an hour.
An hour? Well, you have to be good at it.
Yeah. I was good at it.
Yeah,
I was good at it. But I mean, you know, after a while, it's like everything else. How much time do you want to spend that isn't productive? Like,
oh, come on, that's the majority of
life.
The time.
People? No, but then
I mean, like when you binge watch a show. I mean,
do you think Bill Gates would have rather, you know, done e-gaming instead of actually building an empire?
No.
What about Howard Schultz?
What about Howard Schultz?
You know, he's thinking about running for president. You know that, eh?
No, I didn't know that.
He was on 60 Minutes, and he's thinking about running as a centrist, not an independent.
Yeah.
Because he says, you know what? Politics is corrupt.
So
there's a novel thought.
He wouldn't have been able to do that if he spent time playing.
Well, he wouldn't be because he wouldn't have the money to run for president, which you need a lot of.
These guys, so this Brazilian guy that's running the VR thing I was shooting all the aliens.
Right.
I mean, that guy's doing well, and he told me he's a gamer too.
He really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's playing.
Is this company public?
Yeah.
What's the Simber? What's December?
Because I left it.
No, we're not in December. It's in January now.
We'll probably end up seeing it tomorrow, or worst case, the day after.
What's the ticker?
You
don't know.
It escapes me because his card is on my desk, which is over there, and I don't feel like running off the set. But just keep an eye out. It's I guess it's it's becoming more of a thing now, so which is cool. It's all good. I mean, these companies that make the games like EA and Electronic Arts, Activision, the former CEO of Activision, I believe, joined Netflix. These are huge companies. Huge companies. Have you ever heard of Activision or Electronic Arts?
Of course. I was involved in a software company back in the late 80s, early 90s called MotionWorks. And they actually had a program that Electronic Arts picked up. And suffice it to say, the stock went from basically virtually nothing to about $5. I made a lot of money, and then it started to drop, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get a second chance at this baby, and I'll never do that again.
No, no, no.
Once you make money in a company, go look for fresh legs. Don't go back to that same...
Don't keep feeding at the same trough.
You know what? It just doesn't... magic only happens... Lightning... Anyway, it was a disaster. It caused me... It made... Well, one good... Maybe it was good, maybe it was bad. Point is, you make money on a speculative bubble. Get out and stay out. I was out, and I went back in, and it set me back dramatically. So anyway, Electronic Arts was somehow involved.
Okay.
But the company went bust.
Well, I mean, I think you can, to some extent, do that with the marijuana stocks, just because the pullbacks are sort of so unexpected and extreme. You feel like it's sort of all over, but then when you see things... So if you have cash during those times, and things start to pick up again, you can get back in the big...
But you got to look at overbought, oversold. You got to use some indicators. You got to say, because we've seen like weed bounce around like how many times now? And I would say, well, that's it, and then I'm wrong, But so when they're oversold, buy them. When they're overbought, sell them.
Yeah.
And use your own technical indicators, but at least you have some kind of plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got we just spoke to Michael Kadonoff, and I got the chart of Braingrid up here. I thought that one might be, we could tie it in, just to say, hey, this has only been public for about I think about a month or so, month and a half.
Well, that would be the brainy thing to do.
Well, the brain gritty thing to do.
Yeah. That's using your brain.
Well, let's see. Control. Is anybody left in the control room?
Yes, I'm just getting word now that there is someone.
Oh, I know what it is. Yeah. I don't have my headset on.
Yeah.
Okay.
They just pulled up the chart and then you blew it.
Now I can, but it helps when I put my my earpiece in.
Stick it in your ear, Ed.
Okay. Here we go. So we obviously went public. I can't recall the price, but around 35 cents, and then just totally sold down on very light volume, and we rallied back to a little bit of one green candle. But look at this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 1 out of 17. I'd say that's a rare occurrence. That is statistically rare, and that you should be considered a buying opportunity, as long as there's nothing wrong. And sure enough, look, this thing launched from 5 cents. It hit 22 cents in 3 days. That's a quadruple.
Yeah.
That's like a home run. You can get a triple in baseball. You can't get, well, a quadruple is a home run. You get a single, double, triple, or a quadruple.
Yeah, an inside the park home run.
But look at the volume.
That's big.
Yeah, so there you go. So, listen, this young man is extremely bright and very dedicated, and yeah.
Ooh.
And they're doing things in the marijuana space, aren't they?
They are
with sensors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is what they're doing, indeed.
Yeah. Okay.
So, just out of curiosity, Ed, somebody's joking here that you were going to become the CEO of Afria. But in all seriousness, if someone walked up to you today and said, hey, do you want to be the CEO of Afria?
Yes.
Yes?
Did you hear?
You don't have to think about it?
You know what? I mean, look, at the end of the day, many are called, few are chosen. Somebody said...
I'd probably say yes too, but unlike the other CEO that was on here earlier that takes no compensation, I think that would be, I think it would be totally acceptable to accept a salary.
You know what? I'm not qualified to run a major company like that. It would be fun. Well, I probably, you know. give me a month. No.
Yeah. Okay. So you would do it. That's all I'm looking for.
You know, look. I like doing this. This is fun. This is as much fun as I've had in you know.
Yeah, see, Ed would make an excellent CEO, is the comments here.
There you go.
Never find a honey where you make your money. Another great comment.
No honey.
Never find.
No money, no honey, no funny.
I think you just added to an already great comment. Okay. Here's somebody that's been returning to the trough of Hexo. Buying and selling like a mother.
Well, okay, buying and selling is okay, and there's a business there. But when I went all in.
Oh.
I plunged. I made a lot of money on the way up, and I took it out. And everybody said, "Why are you selling?" I said, "Because everybody's buying." Yeah. And when everybody sold, I thought, "Well, now I should buy."
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was going to go to zero. That's the difference. Hexo's a real business.
There we have the Israel stock comment again.
Okay, I don't know. You know what? This is.
You got to elaborate, bud. I'd love to.
I don't know the name of the company. I don't know the symbol. If we could put up a chart, I could comment. But
their comments are coming in like.
Fast
like
and Furious?
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to. Oh, now it just scrolled.
If
you were the CEO of a free, it would increase tenfold.
Yeah. Hey, well, you know what? Give me some stock options.
They can vote Ed. Vote Ed. Vote for Pedro.
Did you? Have you voted?
Yeah.
Vote Ed.
Yes.
Have you voted?
Vote Ed. Voted.
Ha ha ha. Ha
okay.
Ha, ha.
So let's look into our crystal. Let's look into our crystal ball.
Okay.
And let's say the end of April. Who do you think is going to?
Oh, that's tax time.
Yeah, but if so right now Kronos has shot right into the number 3 spot.
Number 3?
I believe. I think it's
2 or 3 or 4.
Canopy, Aurora, Kronos, I believe Afria.
Tilray's up there.
Oh wait, Hexo. I don't know what their market cap is.
I don't think Hexo, but I think Tilray's in there. Tilray's got a major market.
Yeah, but I don't count this. So,
okay, so
I'm
you're
counting
talking
Canadian.
Okay.
Because the American guys, like, yeah, they're on the Canadian exchanges.
I gotcha.
But that's its whole weird thing going on with the super voting structures and.
It's very convoluted.
Yeah, I think there's a distinction there. We could group them all together, but I don't think it would really reflect.
Yeah, I wanted to make a point about something, but my memory is not as good as it used to be.
You should have taken that test that the other neuroscience company has.
Okay, I want you to ask me this question. Okay.
Sure.
It's a test. So you'd say, Ed, who would you rather sleep with? A, your wife, and you say B. Okay, just do that.
So
okay?
Ed, who would you rather sleep with? A, your wife, or B?
B.
Well, that'll get you in a lot of hot water. Don't.
As if I'm no stranger to hot water. Like, look, you got to have thick skin, and you know, be serious, but don't take yourself
too seriously. You know who taught me that?
Your dad.
No, Coach.
Your wife.
No, Coach Jack Armstrong. I went to his basketball camp in 1998.
The guy that's on the Raptors?
Yes.
You know what? I love that guy.
And I went to Leo Rowdy's camp.
He is such a real.
He's amazing.
He is a real person. Like you can tell that he's a sincere. Yeah. You gotta love the guy. He's a big runner apparently.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Jack. Get that garbage out of here.
Get that garbage out of here.
Okay. Folks, we're going to close the show. Upcoming tomorrow, again, is Robert Galarza of Blockstrain CEO, Anthony Durkatz of First Republic Capital, Chris Miller of Koyos Beverage Corp, and Neil Murata, Indiva CEO, Vinay Tolia, Flower CEO, and Allison Gordon.
Wow, lots of CEOs.
Back again. We love Allison. 48 North.
Okay.
And that's, sorry, these folks are sometime this week, not tomorrow, but...
Oh, coming up this week.
Not today, maybe tomorrow.
Certainly not yesterday.
Or
if they're coming up,
that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yesterday was now then.
Yeah.
Tomorrow will be now then.
And now that you've blown my mind, later, folks.
Good night.